ओम सदाशिवसमारंभां शंकराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम् अखण्डं सच्चिदानन्दम् अवाङ्मनसगोचरम् आत्मानम् अखिलाधारम् आश्रये भीष्टसिद्धये अर्थतोऽपि अद्वयानन्दान् अतीतद्वैतभानतः गुरूनाराध्य वेदान्त सारं वक्ष्ये यतामतिः. Okay, we saw the nature of Turiya last time, right?
Swamiji, can I ask a question? I have a question. Can I ask now or later?
Now. Right now.
We always say, that Chaitanyam is Sakshi, Vaidyam, and then it's Sakshi, in all through stages of experiences. So, can we take this Sakshi Bhava as the Lakshana of Chaitanyam? And if so, is it Tatastha Lakshana? Then can we use it like Jagat Karanam to point out the consciousness?
No. Sakshi is Swarupa Lakshana. But in a way it is Swarupa Lakshana. Why? Because the nature of Sakshi is nothing but consciousness. No? So the term, from one standpoint, the term Sakshi is given with respect to the fact it is aware of the whole thing. Consciousness is always the Drik, never the Drishyam. No? So from that standpoint we are calling it Sakshi. But in your understanding, Sakshi is still at the level of your logic and thinking. So even though the Sakshi is the nature of the Atma, you still have to understand the nature of the Atma. Using the term Sakshi is not enough to understand the nature of the Atma. There Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahman, that definition has to come in. So even though Sakshi is naturally the Atma, or the Atma is naturally the Sakshi, it still have to, in understanding, go a little bit more. In understanding, the Sakshi is nothing but Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahman. Because up to the Sakshi, you can come by your own thinking. If your Viveka is high enough, most people don't, they require some help, but that's okay. Yeah.
Okay. Yes, Swamiji. So we have to then in that case also understand that consciousness illumines everything, and therefore
Sakshi is consciousness.
Sakshi consciousness.
Yeah, Sakshi is consciousness.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Thank you.
But calling it just Sakshi is not enough in your understanding.
Yes.
Yeah. That is where the pramana has to come in. In fact, if you are clear about the Sakshi, the pramana will work like this. Because that's the height of Viveka, no? I'm the witnesser of everything. So from that standpoint, you can say it is Tatastham. From that standpoint, you can say Tatastham because you are witness with respect to everything you are talking. Yeah. So it's a nebulous grey area in a way. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll think more on this in case if there is anything I can ask.
That's why remember Vedanta is non-categorical. Not this or this. Sometimes it's both. And sometimes neither. Yeah. Because from one standpoint you can say Atma is not Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahman also, isn't it? Atma is Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahman. Yeah, but it is not Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahman also. Why? Can anybody tell me why?
Swamiji, because these are
Huh?
Not, these are the Lakshya here. These are not Vaksha.
Yes. It is not the word meaning of Satyam Jnanam Anantam, it is a Lakshana of Satyam Jnanam Anantam. So you can say it's not Satyam Jnanam Anantam also. No? Yeah. So you have to be, that mind has to be fluid enough for that. Yeah. And to keep that mind in that fluid, this is part of Samadama. Not being rigid about things. And this has to be reflected in all aspects of life. Only then it works, you know. Say, no, for Vedanta, I'll keep my mind open. But other things in my home, etc., I want it exactly like this. Hey, come on. I mean, I'm not saying you should keep your house a mess like mine. I'm not saying that. But it's okay like this, it's okay like that. Yeah. As long as there is some order, etc., fine. Yeah. Okay. Any other questions, or shall we get into the text?
Swamiji, Pranam,
Yeah.
one question I had about the Turiya and then the three states. So in that specifically the Taijasa and Hiranyagarbha. So here, I mean, is the implication there that essentially all the dream worlds put together is Hiranyagarbha?
More.
What is the
It is all the dream worlds plus more. In fact, the whole subtle creation, the whole subtlety, your whole Sukshma Sharira, all the Sukshma Shariras, and the Sukshma creation.
Thank you.
So that will include other dimensions of existence which are Sukshma. Heaven, Brahmaloka, etc., which are very, very Sukshma existence. They are not exactly physical like how our physical creation is. Yeah. Therefore, that will happen. Yeah, that is why we praise Yudhishthira for entering heaven as a human being. Correct? Permanent entry as a human being was given to Yudhishthira. But once he went there, he had to get the divine body. Means he had to drop the physical body anyway. Whether you drop it on earth or you drop it there, you have to drop it. Why? With this body, how long are you going to experience things there? You can't. It's a different dimension, etc. Yeah. Yeah, it includes Sukshma Sharira of all beings. Therefore, the totality. That's why he is giving the example of tree and forest. Because each tree has an individual existence. But the forest, collective whole. Therefore, the Sukshma Sharira of all human beings, not only human, non-human also, all jivas. All jivas means your plant life, etc. onwards. Animal life, plant life. Kinnaras, Rakshasas, Gandharvas. Mind-boggling. Expand that mind. Let the mind expand. I mean, why are Puranas talking about all these things? Just to expand your mind up to different dimensions, different ways of thinking, different perceptions of creation. It's all meant only for that. What else? What difference does it make? Oh, you know the Rakshasas are like that. You know the Kinnaras are like that. I'm not going to deal with them anyway, so what difference does it make to me? That's not the idea. The idea is mind expansion. The mind expands to include all living beings. Yeah. All living beings. Yeah. Not just all human beings. Yeah. Not just human beings. You include the whole creation into it. Yeah. And if there is a freedom of choice and self-awareness, they are like human beings. That's what makes human. Freedom of choice, self-awareness. Not the physical structure. There is a TV serial called Young Sheldon, you know. In there, when the Padri is giving his Sunday talk, this kid puts up his hand and asks a question. Says, if in another planet, if self-awareful beings are like an octopus, will the Lord send Jesus Christ in human form or octopus form? And the Padri has to refer back to his theological professor, etc., etc., and they have a whole meeting, and then they said, no, octopus form. They wonder how he will be crucified. It won't be a cross, it will be an octagon. Anyway, jokes apart. Okay. Jokes apart. That mind to expand, to hold the whole universe in it, you know. Ideas, idea-wise. That's important. Yeah, that's important. That means anyone with freedom of choice and self-awareness is like a human being. They have all human rights, even though their forms may be non-human. Yeah. Otherwise, karma, phala, etc. is not there. Growth is not there. Moksha is not there. Yeah. Moksha is there only when there is freedom, no? Relative. Freedom of choice, action, karma, phala, only then growth is possible. Without karma, phala, how is growth possible? Without a dharmic order, how is growth possible? Yeah. So the whole extension of things, yeah. So conversely, it becomes that wherever freedom of choice is there, dharma is recognized. Self-awareness is there. Because freedom of choice requires guidance. Therefore, dharma will come into the picture, whether you like it or not. Self-awareness has to come into the picture. Then growth and moksha is possible. So then they are all humans, irrespective of the physical form. That's why the Rakshasas could also be held accountable. No? Rakshasas didn't have exactly human forms. If you look at the descriptions in the Ramayana, etc., they are not exactly human forms. Yeah. Somebody having a few heads and being able to regrow a head like a lizard or this thing. So where is the genetic source coming from? Non-human. No? You can grow a limb back or something, it's not human. It's more like a reptilian form. But freedom of choice was available, self-awareness was there, dharmic discussions were there. Though predominantly adharmic, the awareness was there. Therefore they could be held accountable. Karma, phala, etc. Okay. Any other questions or what? Okay. Then back into the text. Okay. We saw 54th verse last time, right?
No, Swamiji, we finished 56.
56 also we finished. Wow. Efficient cause, upadhi, etc. The spider. Yes, urnanabhi, etc., etc. All right. Now, he is talking about a little bit about how the whole process of creation comes in. Okay. Now remember this. This is a widely accepted theory in the Vedic scheme of things. Okay. Whether it is Vedanta, Sankhya, Mimamsa, Ayurveda also. Okay, more or less they follow this theory. It's a non-scientific theory. Okay, the first scientific thought, if you want to call it that way, I mean, at present it is non-scientific. Okay, from the present definition of science is not scientific. Okay, but if you could, by the use of certain sounds, etc., develop missiles, convert an ordinary arrow into a missile, you don't know what level of science was that. Yeah, what an ordinary arrow, it's an ordinary arrow. You're a powerful archer. And there were powerful archers all over the world. The English archers were very well known for their power. The longbow, the use of the longbow. Okay. So, it's an ordinary arrow. But whether it is Ramayana time or even up to Mahabharata time, with a few sounds, they converted that arrow into a missile. People like Drona and all did not even require an arrow. A blade of grass was converted into a missile. Now, what do you call that? It is outside the present scientific model. It's outside the present scientific model. Was it scientific? Was it not scientific? We really don't know, because we don't have the process with us right now. Thank God. Imagine it falling into terrorist hands. Where he comes in with nothing, takes out his pen and uses it as a... My God. My great-grand uncle destroyed a whole room full of documented things, mantras like that, because he didn't want it to fall into wrong hands under British times. It is dangerous in Kali Yuga. Anyway, that apart. So, at present scientific, the forerunner of modern science in India, which we will see soon, okay, you'll see soon, was Nyaya Vaisheshika. They were actually the first theoretical physicists in the world, not the Greeks. Not the Greeks. Because atomic theory, etc., came 3,000, more than 3,000 years ago, 1500 BC or 2000 BC it came. Yeah. So they were the forerunners of modern scientific thinking, the first theoretical physicists to exist. Okay. So given that, we don't know. So this model that we are talking about is outside the scope of modern science. Because it is outside the scope of modern science, we call it dialectical. That's a word the scientists have used. Okay? The scientists have used that. Which is okay, we can use that, it's not a problem. It's not a big affront on the Veda or Hindutva or whatever. It is not. It's okay. All right. Because some word has to be used anyway. Okay. Then he is saying, Tamapradhanaha Vikshepa Shakti Mad Ajnana Upahita Chaitanyad Akashaha Akashad Vayoho Vayoho Agnihi Agnehe Apaha Adbhya Prithivi Cha Utpadyate Etasmat Atmanaha Akasha Sambhuta Ityadi Shrutehe. From this Tamapradhana Vikshepa Shakti. But each word is used with care. Two Shaktis of Maya, Avarna and Vikshepa. Viksheka comes into play after Avarna Shakti. So from this Vikshepa Shakti now, but which Vikshepa Shakti? Tamapradhana Vikshepa Shakti, with a preponderance of tamas, not sattva or rajas. Preponderance of tamas, tamapradhana Vikshepa Shakti. Tad upihita chaitanyam, with chaitanyam backing it up. That's always important. Because Vikshepa Shakti also cannot function on its own without chaitanyam is backing it. Therefore, tad Shaktimad Ajnana Upahita Chaitanyad. What happens? Akashadi Sambhutaha. Akashas. From Akashad Vayuhu, Vayor Agnihi, Adbhya Prithvi. Agnihi, Agnehe, Apaha, and Adbhya Prithvi. Akasha Vayu Agni Apa Prithvi. All this came into existence. What is your pramana for it? Taittiriya Upanishad, Etasmat Atmanaha Akasha Sambhutaha Ityadi. Okay. Yato imani bhutani jayante iti. Okay. All right, fine. Akashadi came into existence. Okay. Now, very often the term in the translation user, these are the 5 elements. The moment we say that, the modern mind jumps up and says, but these are not elements, these are made of many elements. Vayu is made of many elements. We know that. Therefore, then you have a choice. Don't translate, use the word Panchabhutas. And I want a translation. Provide a word then. You don't have this idea in your language. You don't have the idea in your language and you want to use a word. You want me to give a word in your language, Panchabhutas, fine. Yeah. What will I do? If this idea doesn't exist in your language and you want a word from it in your language, how am I supposed to translate it? Tell me. So I won't translate it. I'll keep it as Panchabhutas. Okay. All right. Panchabhuta. Okay. Okay. Now, all right, fine, all right. Teshu Jadya Adikya Darshanat Tama Pradhanyam Tat Karanasya Tadanim Sattva Rajas Tamasim Karna Gunapatra Kramena Teshu Akashadishu Utpadyante. Now, why are you saying Tamapradhanam? Because Teshu, in Akasha, Vayu, Agni, Apa, Prithvi, etc., they have, when you observe them, they have a preponderance of tamas. Tamas means what? Of being gross, inert. They are grosser elements. They are grosser, Panchabhutas are grosser compared to other things, like Ajnanam itself. Therefore, we will say Tamapradhanam. Tadanim Sattva Rajas Tamasim Karna Guna Prakarena Teshu Akashadi. But because the Moola Ajnanam has Sattva Rajas Tamas, even though Tamas is preponderant in Akashadi, there will be Sattva Rajas also in Akashadi. So you can't categorize and say Akashadi are tamasic. No. They have a lot of tamas in it, but they also have Sattva and Rajas. All right. Take it. Accepted. Yeah. That's why in the footnote he says, therefore, Akasha will have the greatest amount of Sattva. Why is the subtlest of all the elements, all the bhutas, and earth will have the maximum amount of tamas because it is the grossest. That's simple logic being applied. Okay, simple logic being applied. Etani eva sukshma bhutani tanmatrani apanchikritani chuchyate. These panchabhutas, since they are just emerged from ajnanopahitam chaitanyam, okay, they are called tanmatras. Tanmatras means nothing but that. They are in a pure form. Pure akasha, vayu, agni, apa, prithvi. Remember, we are talking about the first moment after the Big Bang, okay? Big Bang and T1. We are talking about T1, S1. Space 1, time 1. Okay. We are talking immediately after the Big Bang. Yeah, okay. All right. Fine. Then what will happen? Etebhyaha sukshma sharani sthula bhutani cha utpadyante. All sukshma sthula bhutas have come from this. Meaning the whole creation has come from this. So now he is giving a theory how it has come. Okay? He is giving a theory. Sukshma sharirani saptadasha avayavani linga sharirani. What is the sukshma sharira? He says it is also called linga sharira. Why? It indicates that you are alive. Okay, linga sharira. Saptadasha avayavani. It is made up of 17 parts. Some books talk about it as 19 parts. Some talk about it as 17 parts. What are they? Avayavastu jnanendriya panchakam. Your 5 organs of perception. Eyes, ears, nose, skin, etc. Buddhi manasi, your buddhi, reasoning, manasi, emotions. So ahankara is put in both. Memory is also included in both. However, some books talk about it 19 by mentioning memory and ahankara. Chittam and ahankaram. Here it is put together into these. Alright. Then, so you have now 5 jnanendriyas, 2 mind and buddhi, 7. Then karmendriyani panchakam, 5 organs of action, hands, legs, etc. Vayu panchakam, pancha pranas, 5 main pranas. Prana, Pana, etc. Samana, Vyana, Udana. Now he is talking about the Sukshma Sharira and he is talking about Jnanendriya and Karmendriyas. Eyes, ears, nose are here, na? Karmendriya is here. But he is talking about it as Sukshma Sharira. This is what we call in different languages and different paradigms, we will talk it as your aesthetic body, your prana sharira, okay, your embryonic body. All these terms are used in different philosophies, okay. What does it mean? It means your capacity to see is in the mind. The eyes are only the physical organs. The capacity to hold, to grasp is in the mind. The hand is only the physical aspect. That is why even in modern science, they say if you are doing a transplant, hand, etc., transplant, and now there are, even in India, there are a couple of people with hand transplants. Say, do it as quickly as possible. Why? Because your aesthetic body, the prana sharira, is still extended up to the hand. So when you transplant the hand, it is easier for that capacity to flow into the new hand and use it. Even with artificial limbs, the sooner you put it on, the better it is. Another phenomena is observed by all doctors is the phantom limb phenomena, where people whose hand or leg has been amputated will talk about scratching, itching where there is no limb. And the doctors will always say, it started with the nurses. Nurses have that practical wisdom which unconditioned by all the medical knowledge, you know. So the nurses would say, scratch there, no? I don't have a hand. I don't have a hand, but my forearm is scratching. Scratch. I got relief. It's a mind extension. It's a mind extension. In certain martial art forms, we extend this mind, this hand, etc., into the weapon that we hold. So the weapon and the hand becomes one. You can use the weapon as well as you use your hand. And sometimes when soldiers are killed in battle holding on to a sword or something, they find it very difficult to remove the sword from the hand. He is dead. I mean, modern science explains it, oh, there's a spasm response, etc. But where did the spasm response come from? Normally when somebody dies, hands, etc., the whole muscles relax up. That's what we have noticed in science. Sphincter muscle, even the sphincter muscle, etc. So if there is too much of stuff in your large intestine, it gets expelled on its own and things like that. But then why is this happening? Because it had become one with the body. The body. Yeah. And you feel it, you feel the energy extending there. If you are at that level. Now we'll have a little, in our Vedic Wisdom Festival, a martial art demonstration also put up. But I don't know whether those people are at that level. Okay. I know they are good, but whether they are at this level of martial arts, I'm not sure. Okay. We'll see. We'll see. When they perform, I will know at what level they are. Yeah. Okay. All right. Therefore, Jnanendriyas and Karmendriyas are here in the Sukshma Sharira. Outside what you see is only the physical organ. In Sanskrit they are called Golakas, the physical organ. Let's say the physical organ may be there, but if your nerves are destroyed, they are gone. Nerves are the connection between the Sukshma Sharira and the physical body. There are multiple layers of connection coming in. Yeah, multiple layers of connection coming in. Yeah. Which, this is, that for referring all those details, you'll have to go into books of Ayurveda. Why? It stops being Vedanta and becomes medicine now. Healing it becomes. Okay. Yeah. So I'm restricting it to Vedanta, but just giving you all an idea about it. Okay. Yeah. Okay, Karmendriya Panchakam. And Karmendriya Panchakam, Vayu Panchakam. Pancha Vayus. Vayus, you know, definitely are not in the body. What you see as your physiological system, like breathing, the prana is in the Sukshma Sharira. If the prana was not in the Sukshma Sharira, you will have a dead body breathing. Similarly, Vyana, Samana, Samikaranam, your digestive system. The digestive system is a function of the prana. Yeah, it's a function of the prana. Circulatory system is the function of the prana. That is why your blood pressure, etc., can be controlled and managed with breathing exercises. Because function of the prana, Samana Vayu. So Pancha Vayu, if you can control, your health is great. Yeah. Then the only way you will fall ill is because of karma, which is one of the points mentioned in the Ayurveda, because you have to suffer that. So even if Panchavayu is under your control, you will fall ill, not because of any infection or something, because karmically you have to fall ill and suffer. Therefore they will weaken that Vayu, or at least enough to affect the body. Panchavayus. And if you control Udana Vayu, you can die when you want to, okay? Samadhi mein baith ke chale jao. Interesting. Yeah. All right. Then now a little bit description of each, okay? Jnanendriyani, Shotratva, Chakshuhu, Jivva, Grana, Akhyani. What are the 5 organs of knowledge? That from where you get information about the world coming in. Eyes, ears, nose, etc. Okay. Etani, Akashadini, Satvika Ankshebyah, Vyastebhyah, Pratak, Kramena Utpadyante. Each of them is born from one of the 5 Panchabhutas. From the Sattvic aspect of each of the Panchabhutas. Why Sattvic? Because it's concerned with Jnanam, Jnanendriyas. Jnanendriyas. Like Akasha, from Akasha, the ears are born. Skin from the air, eyes from fire, tongue from water, and the nose from earth. Sattvic aspect of all these elements individually. That is why they will pick up the quality of each of these. Eyes will see light and color, which is fire. Ears will get sound, which moves in air, which moves in space. Tongue will taste. Water is necessary for that. All taste comes only when water is there. Earth, from earth comes smell, so the nose will get only smell. Yeah. That's why everyone enjoys the smell of the fresh earth after the first rains. That's the original smell. I don't know how many Bombay people ever get that, unless you live next to a park or something like that. Bombay, you'll get all types of smell, okay? When it rains, even more. Okay. Then, he had also mentioned, remember, 5 years covered, 17 years to cover. 17 limbs of the Sukshma Sharira. 5 years covered. Now, Buddhir Namaha Nischayatmika Antakarna Vrittihi. What is Buddhihi? Your ability to decide. Therefore, knowledge is presupposed. Because without knowledge, how are you going to decide? Therefore, knowing, deciding, reasoning, all these belong to the Buddhi. Functional. Okay? It's a functional name given to the Antakarna. Mano Nama Sankalpa Vikalpa Antakarna Shakti. While what is the mind? The mind, Manaha, is that which keeps changing all the time. Emotions. What you feel today is not what you're going to feel tomorrow. What you feel today and now is not what you're going to feel after lunch. Therefore, that which Sankalpa Vikalpa, which goes this side or that side. You know, many modern books translate it as doubting entity, doubting entity, doubting entity. Completely ignoring feelings. Doubts are thinking based. Doubts are thinking based. Yeah. Therefore, Manaha will include predominantly emotions. Because emotions keep changing. We try to bring a stability into it. Even if you bring a stability, the gradations keep going up and down. You love this guy. I love her, yeah, I married her. The feeling always the same. At times when you feel you want to get away. No? Natural, because mind. It's mind. It has to be like that. Okay. Okay. Anayoho eva chitta ahankarayoho antarbhavaha. And chittaha, which is memory, here they put it as mind stuff, memory, and ahankara are included in the buddhi and mind. You can put it anywhere, okay? Ahankara has got a place both in your emotions as well as in your thinking, because fundamentally it's conceptual. The Sanskrit text has said only anayoho. In both of them it has to be included. The translator has classified the chitta, the ahankara, chitta has to go into buddhi and ahankara is going to the manas. That's the translator's thinking. That is not the original Sanskrit. Okay. Yeah. Then, but Prasanga Vashat, he is explaining that also. Anusandhana nama antakarna vrittihi chittam. Chittam is not just mind stuff. Anusandhana atmika antakarna. What is anusandhanam? Recollection of what has happened before. Anusandhanam. Memory is called chittam, because an important aspect of your mental functioning. Therefore clarified. There are other aspects of your mental functioning also, but since it is not common, it is not mentioned. Then abhimana atmika antakarna vritti ahankara. Abhimanam, your sense of identity. Therefore, ahankara is nothing but your idea of I, which is also not constant, it keeps changing. No? Is your idea of yourself same? Is the idea of what you have about yourself same as it was 2 years back, 1 year back? Before the pandemic to now? Forget the idea of India changing, idea of yourself is changing. You are unhappy with the idea of India changing. What about the idea of yourself? I am not happy with the status quo and the narrative being changed. You know what is that? Your mind longing for stability, to hold on to something changeless. That's what it is. And you think a narrative will be changeless? Narrative changes from moment to moment, day to day. Sometimes at a global level, sometimes at an individual level. That's the only difference. Changes at a collective level, change happens in the country. Good, bad, ugly, whatever. It chances at, if it is only your level, then either it can be growth or the other way around. Because all change is not growth anyway. I've seen people exposed to good things deteriorating also. I've seen people going and studying for 6 months in ashram and coming back worse than what they were before. The ashram under a great teacher, he should become better, no? Not necessarily. Not necessarily. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. All right. Now, these four, manobuddhi chittam ahankaram, okay, these four, etehe punaha akashadigata satvika amshebhiha militebhiha utpadyante. These four are born from the satvika aspect of the Panchabhutas, but in totality, not only one. Not just one, but militebhiha. For jnanendriyas, vyastebhiha separately. For mind, etc., militebhiha, together. Why? Because the mind should be able to receive information from each jnanendriya and make sense of it. No? If it is born individual, like the nose cannot see, the eyes cannot smell. Same problem will be there with the mind, buddhi, etc. If it is born only from one. No, but that problem doesn't exist in the mind. It can interpret everything. Therefore, militebhyaha. But because it is knowledge oriented, mind is predominantly sattvic. Even a tamasic mind is born of sattvic aspect of the Panchabhutas. Then you let a lot of tamasic ideas impregnate, enter that mind and make it tamasic. But mind by itself, the true nature of the mind, etc., is to be sattvic. That's why another term in Sanskrit used for the mind, etc., antakarna, is called sattvam. Because born from sattva. Therefore, manobuddhi chitta ahankara is original condition is supposed to be sattvic only. Predominantly, okay? Predominantly, always remember that, predominantly. एतेषां प्रकाशात्मकत्वात् स्वात्म अंशक कार्यत्वम. The supporting argument. Because the nature of antakarna, manobuddhi chitta ahankaram, is to know things, prakashatmakam, they are called product of sattva. Because nature is knowledge. No? Therefore, prakashatmakam. Therefore, sattva guna pradana. Iyam buddhi jnanendriyehi sahita vijnanamaya koshaha bhavati. Now he is connecting up with the koshas also. That's why this is a great book. It collects up all the ideas in Vedanta. You know? He says, buddhi and jnanendriyas together becomes vijnanamaya kosha. You studied the Panchakoshas. Tattva Bodha. Don't tell me, Swamiji, that was so long back, the first text we studied. First text means you should remember that much. Panchakoshas. Vijnanamaya koshaha bhavati. Ayam kartrutva bhoktrutva sukhi dukkhitva adibhi manatve abhimanatvena iha loka paraloka gami vyavaharika jivaha iti uchyate. Therefore, basically, Vijnanamaya Kosha is what? Kartrutva, Bhoktrutva. Sense of doership and enjoyership is intellectual, thinker. No? Therefore, Sukhitva, Dukhitvadi, Abhimanam. Who's Sukha, who's Dukha? Mine. I am happy, I am unhappy. No? I am suffering. Finally, I am fine, I am comfortable. I have resolved all my conflicts, now I am fine. Vijnanamaya. Therefore, that becomes Ihaloka Paraloka Gami. The one that is responsible for going from one loka to another loka. See, the whole Sukshma Sharira goes, but here is giving importance to Vijnanamaya. Ihaloka Paraloka Gami. Vyavaharika jivaha iti uchyate. This is the Vyavaharika jiva, the functioning self. The jiva, the functioning entity. So look at all that is involved in the, when you say buddhi. Buddhi, intellect, idiotic intellect. There's a whole tie-up here. The whole tie-up. Not just intellect. Yeah. Are you all getting that expansiveness of it? Instead of just one word, intellect. Intellect to control the mind. All this nonsensical modern Vedanta. Okay.
Swamiji, Bhokta is Anandamaya or Vijnanamaya only we call Bhokta?
Kartrutva Bhoktrutvam involves Ahankara. When you say Karta Bhokta, you are talking about Ahankara. Ahankara is Anandamaya Kosha or Vijnanamaya Kosha?
विज्ञानमय.
Because unless you say it is mind, Vijnanamayam, why? Because Ahankara is your conceptual self. That's why I deliberately use the word conceptual self for Ahankara. Now you're seeing my logic for using it, the term. Ahankara is not translated as ego, because ego has different meaning in English.
Yes, yes, yes.
Egoistic, etc. That's why I deliberately use the word conceptual self. I mean, most Vedanta teachers use ego, but I am deliberately using the word conceptual self because it gives a clearer idea of what you are, a concept that you have about yourself. That's Vijnanamaya, no? And Vijnanamaya is Karta Bhokta, because all your identities are based with respect to what you do, the roles you play, etc. Therefore, Karta Bhokta. Tell me, when you say, life has been unfair to me, I am hurt, that's part of your conceptual self or your enjoyment?
Conceptual. Conceptual.
Yeah. And we say Buddhi is only for reasoning. Your whole conceptualization happens there. This is because of our readings of modern Vedanta that sab bhusa bar gaya. Yeah. Not thinking. Not thinking. Yeah. Therefore, Vyavaharika Jiva, the functioning entity. All right, where does the mind play then? Now, mind also will deal with it. Look at it. So, some of the things will overlap, okay? Mano buddhi, things will overlap. Manastu jnanendriyahi sahitam san manomaya koshaha bhavati. Mind, manaha, along with jnanendriyas, becomes manomaya koshaha. That means what? Jnanendriyas goes both Vijnanamaya kosha and Manomaya kosha. Why? But Manomaya kosha is about feeling. Without sense data, is there any feeling? You heard something, then you know what to respond. No? There's a feeling come up in you. You saw something, a feeling has come. Saw something disgusting. Saw something nice. Feeling comes up. Without Jnanendriyas, can feeling come? Therefore, Jnanendriya goes. That's why these are not watertight divisions. These are only functional perspectives. Functional perspectives, that's all they are. You can't really separate Manomaya, Vijnanamaya, etc. Functional standpoints. Functional standpoints. Okay. Okay, all right. If there are any questions, ask. Okay, I know this is basic, fundamental, but there can be questions at this level. Okay. Karmendriyani vakpani pada payu upasthakyani. Karmendriyani, organs of action. Speech, hands, feet, organs of evacuation and generation, conception, etc. All these are organs of action. Etani punar akashadini raja amshebhyaha vyastebhyaha pratak pratak kramena utpadyante. All these are born from where? He says from the rajas aspect of akasha, vayu, agni, apa, prithvi. Why? Because they are concerned with action. Therefore, naturally, sattvic has been taken by jnanendriyas. Rajas is being taken individually by karmendriyas. Okay. Okay. Utpadyante. Simple, straightforward. Okay. Vayavaha prana apana vyana udana samanaha. Panchavayus. Panchavaya. Is there any English name for these? Prana, apana, vyana, udana? No. There is no English name. But you equate them with certain physiological systems in your body and says it is like that. Actually, it is much more. It is not just physiological systems. The prana governs the physiological system, but the prana can function without the physiological system. When things go wrong with your body, you have to see, is it the effect at the physical level or the pranic level? Really speaking, that's how you treat them. That's why sometimes in spite of medication, you don't heal. Why? The problem is elsewhere. So their pranic healing has to come in. Not pranic healing that you hear about in, that thoda effect hai. I'm not dismissing it. There is some 10% effect on that. Reiki, pranic healing, 10%, 15% effect hai. Yeah. But in traditional systems of medicine, whether it is Indian, Tibetan, Chinese, Japanese, they treat the prana level also. I always said this, no? You go with a stomach upset to your doctor. You have gas and bloating and loose motion and everything all together. Prana apana is in a problem. He measures your pulse rate. Apana and prana is not functioning properly. I will give you a Vayu Guliga. Guliga means tablet. Vayu means air. Air tablet. What is this air tablet? I go with my scientific mind. What air tablet are you talking about? Believe me, I have a very strong scientific temper. If I was not a Vedantin, I would have been a theoretical physicist, probably. Vayu Guliga. But you take it because you have no other option. Within half an hour, you get relief. How is that happening? Not with the gross pill, but the gross pill stimulates something in your system that goes to the prana. The subtle aspect goes to the prana and corrects that. Because the prana is strongly connected with your physical body, with your physiological system. The prana also rides on your emotion. That's why if you are chronically angry, your BP will be high. If you are chronically stressed, your BP will be high. Therefore, pranayama is not breathing exercise. You are using the breath to control the prana. And at higher levels of pranayama, you don't use breath only. You are only moving the energy, there is no breathing happening. You are not using breathing. How can that be? It can be. Prana, in the beginning you move prana with breathing. Later you move prana without breathing. Don't try it on your own, please, even if you are yoga teachers, okay? Learn it from somebody. Because if you get into a mess and injure your organs, I am not responsible. I am striking a caution right here. Learn it from somebody. Okay, yeah.
Swamiji, can I ask a question?
Beg your pardon?
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, shoot.
So here, can I understand it like this, that the Maya as the Upadana Karanam is manifesting, and this model is explaining basically Samashti Upadhi, that this is how it is. And then qualitative differences we understand later on. So this is like basically explaining that from Sattva Rajas.
This is for all organs.
Everything.
Samashti, Vyashti both are included in this. Not only Samashti. Because the individual is not separate from the total, no? So in your individual prana you will find all this, in the cosmic prana also you will find all this. Yeah.
Okay, and then in an individual the permutation combination may vary
Yeah,
depending
yeah.
on the karmas and other
Yeah,
things.
yeah.
That's all. Okay.
True.
Swamiji, on that, on that note, this also seems a very human-centric model, right? Because
Yeah.
we have 5 indriyas, we are
Yeah.
kind of backtracking from there.
Exactly. Why? Because it's being addressed to human beings. Na?
Right.
Yeah, it's being addressed to human beings. Yeah. But let us say there is a non-human body. This could be still applied. with various permutations and combination can still be applied. Yeah. Okay. All right, now he is going into saying what the 5 Vayus are. Okay. Prano Nama Praggamanavan Asargasthana Varti Upsargasthana Varti. Prana is what? That which goes upwards. You can feel it at the tip of the nose. The seat is not the tip of the nose. Nasagra Vartini means there you can feel it. It is something that goes upwards. So all upward movement in your system is based on prana. And sometimes the prana rebels against it. The downward going one, prana, which is apana, becomes upward going, you will throw up. That is called the rebellious prana. That's called an illness, rebellious. Yeah. Maybe because that's what is necessary. Okay. Okay. Therefore, even though you are breathing inward, your breath is going down. Na? How are you breathing? You are not breathing into your head, you are breathing into your lungs. No? But it is called prana. Why? Because the effect of the prana is to uplift the system. Oxygenation is necessary to uplift the system. No? Therefore, prana. Okay. Apano nama avaggamanavan. Okay. One. Payadi avasthana varti. Apano nama is the downward going. Therefore, excretion, etc. But it is not excretion, etc. Only excretion it should not be limited to. If you need strong legs, you need to have a strong apana vayu. Yeah, for common man you will say excretion. Chalo, chodo, apana vayu, everything. Remove everything from the system. But when you age, first thing that will weaken is your apana. That's why your leg strength goes off. Strengthen your apana. Your legs are strong, your health is good. Can you see now how pranayamas have to be done? But apana done is not just long exhalation. Okay? It is not that way. Prana, okay, Taittiriya Upanishad. Remember that heaven and earth meditation. Prana is that which is connected to the heaven energy. Apana is that which is rooted to the earth. Therefore, your rooting, being solids on the earth, that is apana. So when the story, folk tale it is not from the Ramayana. Remember, Angada jumps into Ravana's palace and puts his leg down and says, anyone who makes me move my leg I will fight with him. And nobody could shift his leg up. Strong rooting, apana vayu. That means what? Your feet, there is a point on your feet which connects up with earth energy. It is just behind the ball of the feet, right in the center. It is called, in this thing, the first kidney point for the kidney meridian, energy meridian. So that is what gives you rootedness to the earth and up. So if your prana and apana are functioning, you are well balanced. You are a powerful entity. Even if you don't do physical exercise, etc., you are still strong and capable, high energy. Why? Heaven energy and earth energy flowing into you, aur kya chahiye? You are kept alive by these energies, by the prana. You are not kept alive only by the body. You are kept alive by this. Yeah. All right. I'm just certain sidelights I'm giving you, okay? That is a plus of being a student of a person who is also into martial arts, okay? Yeah. And some exposure to Ayurveda, okay? Then Vyano Nama Vishwagamanavan Akhila Shariravarti. Vyana is what? Vishwagamana. It covers the whole world at samashti level. And at your level, your body. So they generally equate it with your circulatory system. But it is not only circulatory, it is also your nervous system. Because nerves also are all over the body, isn't it? It's not only circulation is all over the body. Your nerves also are all over the body. Your fascia muscles are also all over the body. Fascia muscles is a thin layer that is covering the flesh. So when you see some people having a very lean, shredded look, they look as if they've been shredded apart. That they are developed the fascia muscles. Actually, yoga is supposed to, when you hold your pose, okay, you hold a pose for a long time, it is supposed to strengthen your fascia muscles. How long? A couple of hours? Okay, I'm joking. No, we do it like we can push it to that level if you want it the martial art level. But 10 minutes, okay, 3 minutes, 10, start small. Kuru avadhanam, mahad avadhanam. Be very careful when you do these things, okay? Yeah. So, all this is governed by Vyana Vayu. So, BP issues, etc. are Vyana Vayus. Nervous disorder, Vyana Vayu. General ill health, debility, Vyana. So you have to send that energy all over. So you have to do a breathing exercise that will stimulate that energy all over. But where will you get that energy from? Prana, Apana, and the next one. Not next one, the one after that. He puts Udana in between. Udana nama kantavastaniyam urdha ghamana van utkramana vayuhu. What is Udana nama kantastaniyam? It's in the throat. Urdhva gamana van utkramana vayuhu. This is special function. Udana has special function. What is a special function? It is supposed to help move the jiva out of this body. Generally happens at time of death or near death experiences. Why near death? Because it went out but the prarabdha was still remaining, therefore called back. That's called near death. If you have the Udana under your control, you can leave the body when you want. Samadhi mein baith ke chale gaya. Not easy. I can teach you, but 10 years of practice before you get some control. बीच में mistake रहेगा तो you may be neither here nor there, गड़बड़ हो जाएगा. They'll have to literally bang you back into your body. Using a pranic hammer, okay? Jokes apart, okay? Jokes apart, but this is Udana function. Then I said, where will the Samana get that energy from? Samano nama sharira madhyagata ashita pita adi samikarnakaraha. Samano nama madhyavartani. It is there in the middle of your body, controlling your digestive system, which includes your liver and spleen. Not just stomach. Yeah. Stomach, small intestine, large intestine, yes, but liver and spleen also is covered by Samana. That's why in yoga a lot of focus is given on trunk movements, no? Forward bending, backward bending, twisting, etc. is what? You're stimulating the Samana Vayu by physical movement. Samana Sharira Madhya, okay. Samikarnam tu Paripaka Karnam Rasa Rudira Shukra Purishadi karanamiti yavat. What is samikaranam? Assimilation means paripaka karanam. Cooking your food once again, double cooking in your stomach. Okay, cooking it very calm. To what? To make it rasaha, rudira, shukraha, purishadi. Okay, converting it into your body fluids, blood, your recreative fluids, and other materials of the body. Therefore, Vyana and Samana is to work together to keep your health, isn't it? Vyana and Samana. That's why yoga follows 101 rules of what to eat and what not to eat. That's one way of doing it. Be careful about the diet, this, that, etc., so that you'll be healthy. Another way of doing it, make your prana so strong that any stuff you put in it is taken care of. Why not? One is a yoga way, other is a martial way. Why? You're a warrior on the front. Can you decide what you will eat? I want so much of fruit. Ladakh mein fruit kidhar se leke aayega? You're in Ladakh. Where are you going to get fruits, fresh fruits from? Vegetables, you will get K rations. One bar. You have to eat that, that's it. But your prana is so strong, it will take care of all that. Vyana, Samana, etc., you will take care of it and everything can be converted. You think our ancestors ate avocado, mushrooms and all to remain healthy? Eskimos are some of the healthiest people. What do they eat? Only fat and meat. Your body can convert one into the other. Yeah, it's good to have a balanced meal. I'm not against a balanced meal, okay? Please. I try to do that myself. Balanced, more or less. But no point in obsessing about it. Eat healthy, yeah. Eat healthy, that's fine. What is eating healthy? What agrees with you? Yeah. Your body type. Fruits are supposed to be good for health. Some fruits just don't agree with me. Doesn't agree with my system. Just doesn't. Yeah. Some does. So it depends on your system. It depends on which aspect of the prana is strong in you. Yeah, it depends on a whole lot of factors. Okay, therefore samana. Okay, therefore if all these 5 pranas are functioning well in you and udana is silent in you, you're fine. Okay. Yeah. Now, in many temple pratishtas, they focus on udana and prana. In the linga pratishtha in a temple, or the prana pratishtha in a temple. Why? Because you need energies that will uplift you. So prana and udana will be focused. Especially in tantrika pratishthas. Vedika and loka vyavahara pratishthas, it doesn't matter. Like for example, Babulnath temple is loka vyavahara pratishtha. Doesn't matter. Mahalakshmi temple in South Bombay is a tantrika pratishtha. Okay, understand this. That is why in Babulnath you can go and put your hands and head and everything on top of the linga. Nobody bothers. Can you do that in Mahalakshmi? You can't even touch. You are supposed to be far away. Tantrika pratishtha. Tantrika pratishthas are high energy pratishthas. In those temples they will say, tantrika temples, they will say, women don't go during those 4 days. Why? During those 4 days your apana vayu is active. Because it has to clear a lot from your system. Apana vayu is active. Because clearing agent is removing things from your system. And when you go into a temple, what is it doing? The temple energy is prana, uplifting. Udana, uplifting. So the uplifting energy and the downward moving energy will clash together, create problems for you. Not for the temple. For the temple, there is no problem created. You, it will create problems. Therefore, they will say, don't go into the temple. This became, over a passage of time, idiotic ideas like impurity, etc. That was idiotic. But one thing is there. If you do a prashnam in the temple, you can make out whether people like that are come in or not. Because traces of that energy you will find. It is not enough to affect the murti, but traces of that energy you will find. Therefore, they say generally avoid. Exactly like if you have walked into a operation theatre barefoot without wearing slippers. I will collect a swab from this theatre and test it and find out that people have walked in without wearing slippers. Enough bacteria is found. Similarly, enough traces of energy will be found in a prashnam. Because prashna, etc., are dealing with your energies, etc. It's non-scientific. The whole system is non-scientific, I told you that. It doesn't fit the modern idea of science. So don't be an idiot and tell me it's non-scientific, okay? Up to you. You can still go. Of course you can go. You have the right to go. Go. If you suffer from hormonal disturbances, don't come and tell me after that. Go. You're free. Tantrika temples. Other temples is not a problem. Only Tantrika temples. And even then, if you are practicing pranayamas, etc., strong, it won't affect you. Because that balancing will happen. The balancing will happen. But pranayama, not this, just what you learn in a yoga class, 4 or 5 pranayamas. No. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about a higher level of pranayama that can really strengthen the prana in your system. Okay, then those type of things. Yeah, especially if you can move your prana without breathing. If you do that level, it won't affect you. You can walk in anywhere. You can walk in anywhere. Yeah. Otherwise, it can create. Therefore, they made a certain thing that certain temples don't go. Other temples you can go in. Okay. Okay. Yeah.
Sorry, just one question. When we make any Naividyam offering, we do Pranaya Swaha, Manaya Swaha. Just curious, what is the correlation between...
That is for the cosmic prana you are offering. Ishvara's prana. Like how you do it for yourself when you are eating. Before eating you do, na? Pranaya Swaha, Pranaya Swaha, Atmane Swaha finally. So similarly, Naivedyam also you are offering to the cosmic prana. Yeah. Kechitu Naga Kurma Krikala Devadatta Dhananjaya Akhyaha Pancha Anyavayava Santiti Vadanti. Okay. This we will see later because this he is talking about some other minor thing. Okay. Minor functions of the prana. These minor functions of the prana are also included in the major, but for the sake of treatment, etc., you may look at it separately. Remember Ayurvedic treatment, Panchavayu treatment. Therefore, you may look at it separately. But otherwise, here, all these from the cosmic Rajas aspect, joy, combined aspect, okay? Combination of the Rajas aspect. Prana is one way. Prana is connected to activity. Therefore, from the total Rajas aspect, from individual aspect, Karmendriyas are born. From the Rajas total aspect, total Rajas aspect, all of them mixed together, the Pancha Pranas are formed. This makes your entity as Jiva. Okay, we are coming to that. What is the Jiva? What is this talking, walking entity that you call yourself? Big picture. Okay, big picture. Yeah. Where are you in all this? The guy who says it's all mine, that guy. That entity says, that is you. What is that? An idea that you have of yourself, even if you don't know any of these. You still have an idea of yourself. And that is why, because consciousness manifests in your buddhi through ignorance. That is the I. That says all this is mine, but all this is not me. We are studying the Anatma, right? All this is not me. I am in them, they are not in me. They are all manifestations of Sattva, Rajas, Tamas, backed by I consciousness. Because without I consciousness, nothing happens. Why? These are all existing entities. Can you say any one of them is not existing? All of them are existing entities. Therefore, the existence comes from me, the self, the consciousness. That is why he said, we are studying about the extensions of Ajnanam. How far does ignorance extend? All this. That's why every branch of study is based on ignorance. Because duality is involved. No? Useful, of course, very useful. So, good place to stop. There are any questions? Shoot. Otherwise, next Sunday we will meet again, because this class wants the class on next Sunday. Okay? If there is a change about it, I'll put it up in the group. Okay? Yeah.
Happy Diwali to you, sir.
Yeah. Happy Diwali. Enjoy yourselves. Have a great time. Eat some sweets. Yeah.
Happy Diwali to all.
Thank you.
Diwali to all.
Thank you all. Eat some seeds. Don't go too much on your diet. And focus more on the Deepam and less on the crackers. Even though Hindutva, we should break crackers. Yeah, you can break crackers, but less, because all said and done, they are not very healthy for us. Okay? But focus on the Deepa. It's Deepavali. So focus on the Deepam more than the crackers. Okay? If you have kids at home, do the same. Kids nowadays anyway don't want too much of crackers. That's fine. So have a great time. Enjoy yourselves. Yeah. See you all next Sunday. So 1 week I don't have class. From Monday to Saturday, no class for me also. So I am open to talking and meeting with everyone. Okay. Oh, that's it. Take care.